So, I've been at this company for a while and familiar with kind of how long it takes generally to get, a really good research paper, do all the studies, do all the data analysis, and then go through the process of publishing, right? Which takes, as you know, a long time and it's, very rigorous. Um, and one of the things that struck me last year, I think we started this big collaboration and within a quarter, you had a Nature paper coming out from Microsoft Research, and that model that the Nature paper was describing was ready to be used by anyone on the Azure AI Foundry within that same quarter. It kind of blew my mind when I thought about it, even though we were all, working very hard to get that done. Any thoughts on that? I mean, has this ever happened in your career? And what's the secret sauce to that?
Yeah, I mean, the time scale from research to product has been massively compressed. And I push that even further, which is to say the reason why it took a quarter was because we were laying the railroad tracks as we were driving the train. We have examples right after that where we were launching on Foundry the same day we were publishing the paper. And frankly, the review times are becoming longer than it takes to actually productize the models. I think there's two things that are going on with that are really converging. One is that the overall ecosystem is converging on a relatively small number of patterns, and that gives us as a tech company a reason to go off and really make those patterns hardened in a way that allows not just us, but third parties as well, to really have a nice workflow to publish these models. But the other is actually, I think, a change in how we work. And for most of our history as an industrial research lab, we would do research and then we'd go pitch it to somebody and try and throw it over the fence. And we've really built a much more integrated team. In fact, if you look at that Nature paper or any of the other papers, there's folks from product teams. And, many of you are on the papers along with our clinical collaborators.
Yeah, I think one thing that's really important to note is that there's a ton of different ways that you can have impact. Right. So I like to think about phasing in health futures, at least. I like to think about phasing the work that we do. So first we have research, which is really early innovation. And the impact there is getting our technology and our tools out there and really sharing the learnings that we've had. So that can be through publications, like you mentioned. It can be through open sourcing our models. And then you go to incubation. So this is, I think, one of the more new spaces that we're getting into, which is maybe that blurred line between research and product, right? Which is how do we take the tools and technologies that we've built and get them into the hands of users, typically through our partnerships, right? So we partner very deeply and collaborate very deeply across the industry. And incubation is really important because we get that early feedback. We get an ability to pivot if we need to. And we also get the ability to see what types of impact our technology is having in the real world. And then lastly, when you think about scale, there's tons of different ways that you can scale. We can scale third party through our collaborators and really empower them to go to market to commercialize the things that we built together. You can also think about scaling internally, which is why I'm so thankful that we've created this flywheel between research and product. And a lot of the models that we've built that have gone through research, have gone through incubation, have been able to scale on the Azure AI Foundry. But that's not really our expertise, right? The scale piece and research, that's research and incubation. Smitha, how do you think about scaling?
Yeah, thank you. There are several angles to scaling the models, the state-of-the-art models we receive from the research team. The first angle is we open source it to get developer trust and very generous commercial licenses so that they can use it and for their own use cases. The second is we also allow them to customize these models, fine-tuning these models with their own data. So a lot of different angles of how we provide support in scaling these state-of-the-art models we get from the research org.
And as one example, University of Wisconsin Health, which Matt knows well, they took one of our models, which is highly versatile. They customized it in Foundry, and they optimized it to reliably identify abnormal chest X-rays, the most common imaging procedure, so they could improve their turnaround time, triage quickly. And that's just one example, but we have other partners like Sectra who are doing more of operations use cases, automatically routing imaging to the radiologist, setting them up to be efficient. And then Page AI is doing biomarker identification for actually diagnostics and new drug discovery. So there's so many use cases that we have partners already who are building and customizing.
Yeah, the part that's striking to me is just that we could all sit in a room and think about all the different ways someone might use these models on the catalog, and I'm still shocked at the stuff that people use them for and how effective they are. And I think part of that is, again, we talk a lot about generative AI in healthcare and all the things it can do. Again, in text, you referred to that earlier, and certainly off the shelf, there's really powerful applications, but there is, kind of this tip of the iceberg effect where under the water, most of the data that we use to take care of our patients is not text, right? It's all the different other modalities. And I think that this has been an unlock, right? Sort of taking these innovations from the community, putting them in this ecosystem kind of catalog, essentially, right? And then allowing folks to kind of, build and develop applications with all these different types of data. I've been surprised at what I'm seeing.
This has been just one of the most profound shifts that's happened in the last 12 months, really. I mean, 2 years ago, we had general models in text that really shifted how we think about, natural language processing got totally upended by that. Turns out the same technology works for images as well. It doesn't only allow you to automatically extract concepts from images, but allows you to align those image concepts with text concepts, which means now you can have a conversation with that image. And once you're in that world, now you're in a place where you can start stitching together these multimodal models that really change how you can interact with the data and how you can start getting more information out of the raw primary data that is part of the patient journey.
Well, and we're going to get to that because I think you just touched on something, and I want to reemphasize stitching these things together. There's a lot of different ways to potentially do that, right? There's ways that you can literally train the model end to end with adapters and all kinds of other early fusion, late fusions, all kinds of ways. But one of the things that the word of the year is going to be agents. And an agent is a very interesting term to think about how you might abstract away some of the components or the tasks that you want the model to accomplish in the midst of sort of a real human to maybe model interaction.